Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar today. We'll be getting started in just a few minutes. We still have lots of people connecting to the webinar technology, so we'll start in just a few. Thanks. All right, well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. Thanks so much for joining our webinar today on the state of mobile search here from BrightEdge. My name is Brad Maddock. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Products here at BrightEdge. I'm joined by Sean Oakley.
Hey, thanks, and hello, everybody.
Sean is our solutions expert here at BrightEdge, and we are super excited to talk to everybody today and to share what's happening in the world of search and mobile, and what you can do as a BrightEdge customer. So this webinar is designed for BrightEdge customers. So if you're not a current customer, you'll probably see some things that you don't have access to, namely the BrightEdge platform. But if you are a customer, you're in the right place. We're going to talk about what's happening in the market today, what BrightEdge is doing about it, and what you can do about it, how you can take action and succeed in the changing world of mobile search. So what are we talking about today? What's going on? The reason we're hosting this webinar is that we are on the verge of the single biggest change to search since 2013. Now why do I say that? Why is this the single biggest change? Well, let's look at some recent changes and think about what's been happening in the world of search over the past year or so. You know, a little while ago, a little bit earlier last year, we saw carousel roll out, and that had a huge impact on folks with local presence, particularly in hospitality, for example. But it just impacted a subset of sites across the web. Then we saw Quick Answers roll out recently, and Quick Answers is great, but it's more of an opportunity. It's something you can choose to take advantage of. You can optimize your site's content for Quick Answers, but if you don't want to take action, you kind of don't have to. Google recently rolled out Local 3-Pack, right? And again, that impacts businesses that have a local presence where you've got retail presence or you've got locations scattered around a region. This is bigger than anything like that. And the reason this change that's happening in search is bigger is that it affects every single site in the world. Now, why do I say that? Why does this upcoming mobile search change impact every site in the world? Well, let's just think about mobile and how mobile works really for the entire human race, right? So today, there are 6.8 billion smartphones, mobile phones worldwide, and there are 7 billion people in the world. So what does that mean? What that means is that mobile is becoming the dominant way in which people engage electronically, in which they can access a site's content, in which they can communicate with each other. Every single person on this webinar has a mobile device. Now, what's happening is Google's making some significant changes to search performance and rank based on this fact, based on the fact that mobile is becoming dominant, and also based on some stats that I'll walk you through. So we've done some research at BrightEdge to really understand what's happening with mobile search, what's happening with how companies are succeeding or facing challenges in making their site's content work with mobile. And some of these stats are really compelling to help explain why Google is taking action, right? So if you think about it, mobile has been growing for years and years. So why is it that Google is taking action now? What is it that's changed? Well, it's these stats. It's the fact that mobile is growing 10 times faster than desktop, the fact that mobile is now half of all searches and search traffic, and that typically sites are converting at about 1/3 the rate on mobile devices. So let's take a look at the research that we've done and talk through some of the stats. Now, before I go into some of the mobile-specific research, I want to level set everybody in this conversation on search itself. So we've done a lot of research at BrightEdge. We're the global leader in SEO. We have a fantastic SEO platform that over 1,000 companies use. And one of the things we always want to know is just how important is search relative to other channels that brands are investing in and funding and taking action on. And what the data shows clearly is that organic search is by far the largest channel across all the industries that we work with. In fact, organic search is bigger than paid, social, email, and direct combined for most of our customers. And so when we talk about Google making a change that's going to impact mobile rankings and mobile performance, what that also means is that's going to impact your biggest channel. So if you're on this webinar and you're responsible for SEO, you're responsible for search, you need to reinforce with the folks that you work with that, hey, this mobile update that's coming, if you're going to ask for help, if you're going to ask for resources, this is extremely important. This is bigger than anything else. This is bigger than a landing page going down, a PPC ad not converting, any of that stuff, because search is your biggest channel. Now let's talk about mobile specifically and what's causing Google to make a change at this time. So it was a couple years back that we started really looking at and paying attention to and doing research into mobile and search here at BrightEdge. If you aren't familiar with what we do at BrightEdge, we do research typically 4 or 5 times a year. We publish research reports and studies based on the data that we can see. And it was back in 2013 that we first published these results that said that mobile is growing 10 times faster than desktop. So we could see that smartphone was growing 125% on an annualized basis, and the desktop was only growing 12%. Now what's interesting is that 10x, that's across all the industries we see. We also took a slice based on specific industries, and you can see, not surprisingly, software, a lot of technology savvy people, a lot of technology savvy buyers and users. Software was growing 21 times faster than desktop. Financial services, we're out and about. We want to check our bank balance. We want to make a transaction. We want to, Sean, I saw you depositing a check the other day on your mobile phone.
I sure did. Yeah, you caught me in the middle of that.
There you go. So, financial services, another really popular vertical where mobile is growing faster than, significantly faster than the aggregate on desktop. So search is your biggest channel. Mobile is becoming a bigger and bigger part of search. And today, if you look at the growth of mobile, today mobile is half of your searches and half of your search traffic. For most of our customers that we can see, mobile is half the traffic that's coming into your site. So hang on a minute, let's do some math. I remember back when I was in grade school, they taught me to multiply things. So if search is half my traffic in total, and mobile's half my search traffic, how much of my traffic is mobile search?
I think it could be about 50%.
Yeah, I think it's 50% of the search. So it's a quarter of all my site traffic is coming in through mobile. So tremendous growth, right? But here's the catch. Here's the problem. As mobile has grown, it's not converting all that well. So I'm sure that everybody listening to this webinar right now has had a really crappy mobile experience on their phone, that you've gone to a website and found that you couldn't get the site to work because it didn't work for smartphone. So another thing that we've seen in our research is that conversions on smartphone are typically way lower than desktop. And so think about that. You have this world where mobile traffic to your site through search is exploding. It's growing faster and faster and faster. And yet the traffic that's coming to the site isn't converting nearly as well as desktop. That's a big problem. That's a big problem for all of us as digital marketers. That's also a big problem for Google. So that's why Google is taking action. So think about it. All this traffic is coming through Google. All these mobile searches are happening. Google works pretty darn well on search, I have to say. And they've kind of tweaked things and tuned things over time. We've published research that shows that search results will vary between desktop and mobile in the past. But come April 21st, Google has announced they're making an extremely big change to how sites will rank and perform based on their mobile friendliness. Now, I want to point out that the reason I wanted to talk about the research up front is we've been looking at this at BrightEdge. We've been paying attention to this, and it's important to understand why Google is doing what they're doing. The reason they're doing this is that the mobile user experience is pretty rocky, and I think they're trying to be an agent for good and to influence in a positive way how brands are staying ahead of providing users a good experience on their sites. So that's what Google has talked about. More specifically, here's what will happen. So on April 21st, but let's talk about what April 21st really means because it's April Fool's. I should have said up front, by the way, this is not an April Fool's webinar. If this sounds a little daunting, a little exciting, it is. But unfortunately, it's not an April Fool's joke. So on April 21st, Google has announced that they will be using mobile friendliness as a set of criteria to basically factor into search performance, meaning rank. And again, the reason they're trying to do this is to try to force a sea change where the mobile user experience is positive. But the reality is that indexing for these changes is going to start before the 21st. So you don't actually have until April 21st. You have until about April 10th, which is a week and a half. Let's call it next Friday is really how long you have to get ahead of this and be ready to go. And we're going to talk in detail about that in the product in a bit, so you'll see how to be ready as a BrightEdge customer. Now the thing about Google is, they're a huge business, and they're not going to grade on a curve. It's going to be straight grades, so it's going to be a binary assessment. Either a page is going to be mobile friendly or it's not. Google themselves have said this is bigger than Panda or Penguin. We talked about a little bit about that. And I think really for anyone who's been focused on search and been paying attention to some of the research that we've published and articles that have been written out there on thought leadership, we all need to stay ahead of search, right? So this has to be part of the practice that we build to make sure that we are keeping our sites ready. So what is this mobile friendliness thing all about? What is Google talking about? Well, I'll give you a summary here, but the best way to see this is so this is something we paid a lot of attention to at BrightEdge, is on the Webmaster Tools blog, there are documents that talk about exactly what Google defines as mobile friendly. It's some fairly obvious stuff, and then it's some things that you might not have thought about. So obviously Flash, we've all read the press about back in the day, Apple and other device providers and Flash. Flash is not mobile friendly these days because it's not on most of the dominant platforms. We've all seen websites where the text is too small to read without zooming. That's pretty easy for Google to check, and that's something that they're going to be looking for mobile friendliness. Another thing is horizontal scroll or zoom. So it's fine to have a vertical scroll on a page. In fact, that's encouraged. That's sort of the dominant scroll mechanism on a smartphone. But they don't want to see any horizontal scrolling or the need to pinch and zoom to see a site. Placing links far enough apart, I'm sure everyone has experienced this. Heck, I experienced this on my iPhone keyboard. If you've got big thumbs, you know what I mean. It's important to keep links far enough apart that when you click on one link, it's not easy to click on another link. So there's some more technical things here. So Google wants to be able to crawl the JavaScript and the CSS and images directly, so you need to look at your robots.txt file. You need to make sure that any video encoding that you're doing is actually going to work on mobile devices. I know personally at BrightEdge, we've spent a lot of time on our site to make sure our videos work across platforms and device types. And then the ever unpopular app pop-up page, the download interstitial. So if you go to some sites, you get a pop-up that says download our app, and frankly, most of us don't want everybody's app, right? We want to just go to the site and use the site. That's why we're there on our mobile phone. So that's also going to be something that's considered not very friendly. So in approaching mobile friendliness, there's a couple options for ways to succeed in mobile. The first one and the recommended one is responsive design. And what responsive means is if you go to a given website address or URL, basically you're getting the same exact code, you're getting the same experience in terms of the content, and really it's just cascading style sheets or CSS that are changing or reformatting the content to fit your device type. So basically it's responsive to the device that comes in. And this is the recommended approach. This is what a lot of folks are implementing right now and rolling out in their sites. The second option is dynamic serving. So dynamic serving, again, it's the same. It looks like the same site page, same address, but it's actually not the same page. So what happens here is the page is not responding. It's just serving up dynamically different pages for different form factors. And dynamic serving, an example here is basically the HTML is not equivalent. And then the third option, I think, is where a lot of folks started back in the day, which is the separate mobile site, or what's often called the M-dot. And here the idea is that the URLs are different. There's completely different HTML. It could be different web teams, and it's a different experience for each site. And that is not really recommended. That is not the path forward that's recommended by Google and by the experts. So those are some of the options that are out there. And there's also some gotchas. So let's talk a bit about these, and then we'll actually see some of this when Sean takes us through the technology. We'll see some examples of some things you want to watch out for. One of the first things is basically faulty redirect. So if you are going to have separate URLs for mobile and desktop, it's no longer going to be acceptable, I should say, to direct people from a mobile experience to a desktop experience and back. So historically, sites that had separate mobile versions of the site, they directed people to desktop when they didn't have mobile content, and it creates a really wonky user experience where you're kind of bouncing between a user experience that works and one that doesn't. So that's something that's really not encouraged. Another thing is that basically saying mobile only 404. So if there's content that will be served to a desktop user, but it's going to show a 404 error for the mobile user, basically saying we don't have that content for mobile, there's going to be not, I don't want to say penalty, but it's not going to impact ranking positively. Irrelevant cross-links. So this is, again, where we're linking from desktop to mobile-specific content and back. That's not going to be something that goes well in future. And then the last one, and this is one I'm really passionate about. You know when you're running to a meeting, but you decide you're in the elevator and you just want to load up a page because you want to get something figured out or get something done, and it's too slow on your mobile? Research has shown that people are much less tolerant of slow content loads on mobile devices. And so Google's also doing a lot to look at the performance and load time of pages in looking at the ranked performance. So that's great. So that's what's happening in the market. That's what Google's up to. Well, what does this really mean for everyone on this call? What does this mean for me as a digital marketer and a search practitioner? Well, it means that it's really time to take action. Let's look at the facts. So mobile is 50% of the traffic that's coming in. The results are going to vary even more than they have in past on mobile if our mobile content is not optimized. And search is by far our largest channel in digital marketing. So we absolutely, as a community and as professionals, need to get ahead of search and take action. Now, fortunately for everybody on this webinar, you're all BrightEdge customers. And if you didn't know, what we're really passionate about at BrightEdge is keeping our customers ahead of the changes in search and digital marketing. We have seen over the years that Google updates their algorithm over 500 times a year, and every once in a while they roll out a huge, huge change like this mobile change that we're seeing right now. Now, the really good news for everybody is that BrightEdge actually rolled out a solution for mobile search success back in 2013. In fact, I remember announcing this technology at Share, our industry conference in San Francisco, in front of 600 people, where we, based on our early research that I went through, had already seen that it was imperative that we gave our customers the ability to succeed in the world of mobile and search. We could just tell that this is where it was heading. So that's not the first time we've done that. Of course, way back when we saw social signals impacting search, we built a solution with Facebook and then went up to the city and built it with Twitter. In 2013, when the last time Google made a huge Algo update that impacts everybody, we created a solution for secure search that lets you run your search campaigns and programs based on actuals. And so historically, BrightEdge has had a track record of delivering technology to keep customers ahead of the changes in search. So let's take a look and let's talk about what's in this solution and what BrightEdge customers can do today. So our solution is based on, I think, what typically search marketers want to be able to do when there's a change coming, when they're seeing that they have to be able to operate based on a big change to the algorithm and there's new information that impacts search as a channel. So the framework is pretty simple. The first thing is to understand what's actually happening for my sites, for my performance, for my keywords. And so there's capabilities there in our platform that will help you understand your performance in this mobile dominant world. The second thing is, obviously, search is a zero-sum game. If you want to go up, you got to knock somebody else off. The thing about mobile is we've done research that shows that on mobile the click curve is even steeper, and if you don't rank top 3, it's a big drop-off in terms of click-through rate. And so competitive performance becomes way more important in mobile than it ever was on desktop, because there's no way we'd ever have had a world of 10 blue links on mobile, but we did on desktop for years and years. And then the third is to understand areas to improve, right? So to have technology point out at scale, where can you improve your mobile search performance? So let's take a look at some of the details here, and then we're gonna jump into the platform and see how you can take advantage of the mobile-specific capabilities of BrightEdge. So the first thing I would recommend everybody is to understand your actual mobile SEO performance. So if you haven't used page reporting is part of our platform that integrates with your analytics, your web analytics, and it provides visibility into actual search performance. Now the great thing about page reporting is it's mobile aware, it's mobile ready. In fact, our entire platform is mobile ready, and we'll show you how that works. And so what this will allow you to do is to understand what's actually happened to your site, to your traffic, to your conversions, to your revenue, based on the mobile update that's coming from Google. So that's the first thing to do. The second thing then is to understand what's driving people to your site from mobile devices and from mobile search. And so that's understanding rank, right? Rank is a precursor to traffic, and you can understand what your likely traffic performance is based on rank. And so here again, recommend using keyword reporting and keyword group reporting to understand what's happening with smartphone traffic. So that's the first part of the solution, is understand what's happening now. The second part is competitive. And so benchmarking performance against the competition is super important, because when an algorithm update like this happens, it's an opportunity for your brand. It's an opportunity for you as a search marketer. So understanding how it impacts your competition gives you a leg up and lets you move forward ahead of those folks. So there are two things that we'll focus on here. The first is our relatively recent competitive comparison report, where you can understand your keyword rank performance against your name competitors in BrightEdge. And then, of course, we have Share of Voice, which is our patented technology that on a trended basis shows you how your content is competing across the web at large. So we crawl the entire web to build out Share of Voice. And that technology has been smartphone aware since 2013. And so we'll show you how you can understand the competitive landscape. And then the third thing is to look for areas to improve and understand your site's mobile readiness at scale. So we also have built into our site audit capability mobile-specific rules that correlate or line up well with Google's recommendations in their Webmaster Tools blog to understand how ready your site is for the new world of mobile, mobile search. So with that, with that overview, oh, I should mention one other thing. Excuse me, I forgot. So the other thing I'll say is, as we go through this demonstration, you'll see a lot of technology. And if you forget all the individual capabilities, that's fine. You can email support@brightedge.com for this deck. You can follow up with the webinar team. But the most important thing is to remember to build a practice around mobile search success. So this is not going to go away. This is the future, 6.8 billion mobile phones in the world. And so it's really important that you take advantage of the capabilities in BrightEdge. You're a customer already, to measure and manage and understand and really have an ongoing practice to stay ahead of mobile search specifically. So with that, Sean, should we take a look at a demonstration here?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and get into the product and see a live version of some of what we just discussed. So thanks for the lead-in on all of that, Brad. And I think the thing I want to start with and reiterate here is that all of these features we're going to look at are live. They're in the BrightEdge platform today. Many of these have actually been staples of the platform for a couple of years. And a lot of our clients are leveraging this in real time to not only prepare but to measure how their sites are performing today in mobile and expecting as we move through the algorithm update. So we're going to actually look at the 5 specific areas that Brad had already mentioned. But the one thing I want to stop on is that the BrightEdge platform has a very robust reporting mechanism. And in the dashboard feature, we can actually consolidate results from these individual components in BrightEdge to centralize views in this one spot. And the example that we're looking at here is actually able to track performance based on a multitude of metrics. And for example, we're currently looking at performance by device type over periods of time. And this can be replicated in traffic, it can be replicated in revenue, it can be replicated in a number of ways that are related to your unique needs within your business. I'm actually going to go ahead and toggle from the dashboard into the different components within BrightEdge today. The first piece that I want to stop on and reflected in this first set of dashboards we were looking at is actually the page reporting solution. Brad had mentioned that the page reporting solution was built with mobile in mind. And today we can already segment out results by device type. So what's really important if you're using BrightEdge that you do have this integrated into your analytics accounts. And in this example, we can actually see at a smartphone level how our performance is currently tracking week over week within search. And I can see at a smartphone level today I'm analyzing about $26,000 in revenue, and I can easily toggle into any other device type. Let's just do a quick comparison and analyze our desktop performance, which, as expected, it's still our leader. And as Brad mentioned, even though mobile traffic is increasing, we're continuing to see desktop be the primary source of conversion. And this algorithm update is going to take a pass at making it easier to convert in the mobile world.
Sean, that's really cool. So what did you just do there? You just switched from smartphone to desktop. So are you saying this tells me what's actually happening on my site based on the different device types for search?
Absolutely, Brad. I think one word that you use in there that's critically important is this is actual. This is real time. What actually happened on your site over the last week, month, or whatever view you have set up. And it's quite literally as easy as toggling between device types, and even more specifically for the search engines that I'm ranking on and collecting data within, I can sort in the system to see performance by engine and device type. Great. So the next piece that we wanted to visit is a little bit more around individual keyword reporting. So very similar to the different areas within the solution, our navigation has been built with ease of use in mind. So at the top, it becomes very easy for me to toggle back and forth, again, between device types. In this case, we're looking at the top 50 keywords in this demo account based on search volume. And my initial question of interest here, right, is just today, ahead of this update, how many of my keywords are actually being ranked in top positions inside of Google? And I can clearly see that, last week I had 29 keywords in page 1 in smartphone device types. Again, a quick flip of the device type at the top of the screen, I can now analyze how that's performing across desktop. To start to think about leading up to April 20, specifically 7 to 10 days ahead of that, it's very valuable to have these reports included on a dashboard so that the moment I log into BrightEdge, I can actually see my trend and performance leading up to that major event. And in the desktop world here, we're seeing that I actually do have more keywords, so I am experiencing some rank variation between desktop and mobile devices, which is, of course, to be expected. So this is looking at my own domain, but I also, through this process, and just as a general business best practice, I really want to understand how I'm stacked up against my competition. And if I just toggle into a different view, this is still in the reporting module, I can actually now analyze a competitive comparison report. This is going to be your ability to benchmark your mobile presence against the named competitors that you are currently tracking inside of BrightEdge. In this case, it's domains like Amazon and Dick's Sporting Goods. And I can actually see my performance, my keyword content performance for mobile week over week compared to these core competitors of mine. And it's easy for me to then drill into the competitors themselves to understand what terms and areas of content they're beating me on, and then, of course, to take action and get insights from that.
So, Sean, it looks like I could use this to understand as April 21st rolls around, I could see exactly what's happening to my named competitors, right, if I just keep an eye on this report?
Absolutely. This is going to give you real-time information on how the algorithm update is impacting your site as well as those core competitors.
Cool.
Great. Moving forward from there, I wanted to visit our share of voice reporting solution. So we all know who we're competing with at scale, who our named competitors are. And many of you are already familiar with this part of the platform as well. But the share of voice solution takes an extended look at the holistic competitive landscape. And it's going to examine, quite literally, every domain that I'm competing against for top positions in Google, regardless of if I consider them a core competitor of mine. Because the reality is, we often battle a lot of sites for Google real estate that we don't necessarily battle for sales, service, or product. And in this world of mobile, it's going to be massively critical to understand who those sites are. And so this is a weekly report that automatically runs on every single keyword group that you're currently tracking inside of BrightEdge. And as we head into the algorithm update, we can actually toggle back and forth between smartphone and desktop to see how that landscape is going to change. This is another area where I'm going to be able to pinpoint specific sites that have likely done a good job on being mobile friendly. And the learnings I can get from this, actually, if I toggle back and forth, right, REI has roughly a 11% or 12% share of voice in the desktop world. But in a smartphone performance, it's actually going to be a little bit higher. So they're already well positioned in the state of current mobile, and I'll be really curious to see what this looks like as we move into April 21st. Down below in this report, I can actually see the individual pages that I'm going to be competing with, or that I am currently competing with, for the mobile environment. And this gives me some insights into if my competitors are running MDOT sites, and what type of content I'll actually be going up against. And it actually even profiles additional keywords that I may want to consider adding to my own content strategy that are performing well for my competitors in the mobile environment today. And then the final piece that I wanted to look at today is the site audit feature within BrightEdge. So assuming that you have site audit enabled, the mobile feature is innately part of the platform and can be activated and should be activated. The mobile audit was actually built using the Google Webmaster best practices in mind. And this can be done at scale, whether we're looking at hundreds of pages or thousands or tens of thousands. We're going to be able to crawl the site and specifically look at those areas that Google has deemed important to mobile readiness. For example, I can analyze my page size and is it appropriate for mobile devices. I can look at non-cacheable pages that are popping up for my mobile visitors. I can understand response time, and I think this one is mission critical to this update. How are my visitors interacting with my site, and what is their experience in terms of response time? And this whole list is, we don't need to read each and every item here to you, but the main takeaway is that this is in tune with what Google has already published, and it's easy for me to run this both pre and post algorithm to really understand my performance as we go through these changes. So those were the 5 core areas that we wanted to give you guys a live overview around. And Brad, I will hand this back over to you.
Thanks so much, Sean.
Yep.
So I think the really important thing from what Sean just showed is that you can create a complete picture of what's happening to your site or sites and your business based on this mobile change. And that's something you can do today. We actually introduced this technology in 2013, and so this is something that's just part of the platform. So I'm scrolling through to give you an idea of the type of questions you can answer around competitive performance, around weighted rank and likely traffic for mobile, and top keywords that are working on mobile versus desktop, and on and on. So there's tremendous flexibility. And I also want to revisit what Sean showed here, which is throughout the platform you'll notice you can click through and choose a device type. And so at BrightEdge, when we build technology, we build platform technology. So there's no integration of modules happening here. It's one consolidated platform where mobile is a first-class citizen, whether smartphone, tablet, or, of course, we've always had desktop. And so I want to make sure that everyone on the call understands that's how the platform works and that everyone has access to this technology today. So from here, I want to talk about resources and a few tips, and then we'll take some questions that we've been collecting throughout the webinar. So if you've been waiting for an answer to a question, hang on. Chances are, although I see stacks of questions, we'll do our best to get through them. So first of all, if you want to use any of the statistics or data that were shared earlier in this webinar, this presentation, again, at BrightEdge, we're the leader in SEO technology. We publish a lot of research data, and so whether you want to be able to talk about the scale of organic search or the growth of mobile or the challenges around mobile, all of these assets are live on BrightEdge.com/resources, and they're available to download for anyone on this webinar. And second of all, I wanted to net out on what folks can do today. So again, smartphone is just part of the platform at BrightEdge, and so I think there's a simple list of things that everybody who hasn't done this already should do today. And again, next Friday is when Google's going to start collecting things. So if you want to know where you're performing well and where you're not, building visibility for the 21st or for next Friday, probably not a good idea. You probably want to get your visibility figured out this week so that you can see where you've got opportunity, where you've got challenge. So first thing is, if you haven't turned on mobile keywords in BrightEdge, you'll want to do that. So the way that works is mobile is tracked as a search engine, and then you can enable keywords on that search engine. So for example, Google US Mobile or Google UK Mobile, those are considered separate search engines, which is how Google builds it. So that's how we track it in BrightEdge. So you can simply just go in and do that under setup and search engines. The second thing is to make sure you have analytics integrated to measure actual performance. So as Sean showed us page reporting and showed the revenue, the traffic conversion and revenue impact of mobile search, you can only do that if you use the integration to analytics. So if you're a Google Analytics customer, it's a simple point-and-click operation using OAuth. If you have other technologies such as Adobe SiteCAD or Analytics, then you'll want to reach out to support@brightedge.com, and we'll get you configured there. The third thing I would really strongly recommend is build a dashboard to give you visibility on your performance. And I think there's three things thematically that are most important there. The first is the actual business performance. So the metrics that you can talk to the head of digital, the CMO about, traffic, conversions, revenue. Then there's the SEO performance, right? So your rank performance. You're going to want to understand that and slice and dice that in different ways. And then finally is competitive performance, both on a keyword level and using share of voice. I think if you build a dashboard with those things, which you can just click through in the platform, it's very easy to do. You can assemble a dashboard like the one that we demonstrated here, and that will really help you to do my fourth major recommendation, which is make mobile search, excuse me, I forgot to type mobile there, make mobile search a core part of your search practice. So mobile is only going to grow. Mobile is not going to go away. Imagine if someone came to you and said, hey, you know what? Throw away your mobile phone and never use it again, and don't try to access the web with it. That's never going to happen, right? So all of us need to incorporate mobile search as part of our core initiatives. And so if you need to build a business case, if you need to add somebody to your team, if you need investment from your CMO, use those research reports, use the data of what's actually happening, and show them what you need to build this into your organization. So with that, I think we're going to answer, oh, sorry, one more thing. If you enjoyed the content in this webinar, the thought leadership, the research, the technology that we showed, all of this is initially we show these things first at Share. Share is our industry conference. This year it'll be September 21st through 23rd in San Francisco. Our call for speakers is open, as is our registration. You can go to brightedge.com/share15 and sign up, and we'd be happy to see you there. This year we're right on Union Square in San Francisco. It's going to be beautiful. All right, so from here let's take some questions. So the first question that's in here is, in share of voice. So we showed share of voice. What's included in the other category? So let's switch over and look at that. So I think the question is down here. What's in this other category? It's pretty simple. It's just math. So the top so your site is always going to be shown first, and then the next 8 are going to be the top 8 based on their share of voice, and then all others are grouped into that last bucket. So that's how share of voice calculates that other concept there. Let's see. So other questions, Sean?
Yeah, there was a few questions out here. The one that's come up a couple times is, what if we're not ready for the algorithm update? When will the next crawl be, and how can we get re-indexed? So we are expecting, and Google is expecting, a lot of reaction, right, especially for sites that likely take a hit or fall in rank. So we're expecting them to be re-indexing on a fairly regular cadence. While there's no guarantees on this, we're expecting weekly updates on this. And then, of course, any individual site can submit through Webmaster requests to be re-indexed if you've made major changes to your pages.
That's a great point. I think, again, the really important thing, if you're not going to be ready, if you can tell what the actual impact is, that's going to be that's going to make it a lot easier to rally resources and get this prioritized in your organization. So if you can understand the actual performance of what this mobile update is meaning for your site and for your business by turning on page reporting, it's just going to help you have an objective, data-driven conversation to get folks to rally and get ahead of this change.
Another question out there was, if we are running MDOT sites alongside a standard site, is Google going to treat them separately in terms of this update? And the answer there is absolutely right. They've been very clear that this is going to be distinctly segmented to the mobile environment, and so it would be treating those as separate instances and indexed accordingly. Another question out here is, what if my homepage redirects to an MDOT site? How is Google going to react to that, and is this okay? So in terms of MDOT, just to be clear, right, it is okay to have an MDOT site. I mean, Google has been clear that the preferred route is responsive design, and through their updates, the belief is that it will be harder to maintain MDOT sites over time and stay in Google's good graces. That being said, assuming that your MDOT site correctly follows the list of what they've laid out as friendly, we're not necessarily expecting huge volatility throughout this update. And if your homepage does redirect to an MDOT site, the main thing there is to understand that the indexation of what happens with the MDOT site is what's key in this particular piece.
Yeah, so a great question is, can we get instructions on how to build a dashboard like the sample dashboard here? So absolutely. In fact, if you noticed in our most recent release just 3 weeks ago, we introduced technology called Story Builder. Story Builder is our extremely powerful, flexible capability to build out dashboards and to build out analysis. So I think my recommendation here is write down the top questions you're trying to answer, and then use Story Builder to answer those questions. It's extremely easy to go in and understand the performance of your business. Now, if you need help, if you're part of the customer base that has a relationship with a customer success manager, you're welcome to reach out to your customer success manager, and they can help you implement a dashboard. And over time, we're looking at options to templatize some of this. But right now, what we're hearing is so many customers have specific metrics they want to track that my recommendation is figure out what those questions you want to answer are and what metrics you want to track, and then use Story Builder to simply just use the platform, right? Point and click and simply configure a dashboard that answers the questions you want to answer in the technology.
Yeah, another question out here is if we're planning to expand the level of service to international markets. So we already support a lot of international mobile information. In fact, today we support over 600 search engines between localization and international. And that's actually a great point. We haven't discussed it very thoroughly on today's call, but mobile presence isn't just a national question, right? Understanding what happens if someone's searching for my content, but they're in San Francisco versus Chicago versus Miami or New York or whatever that major city might be. So today we already support the ability to understand your presence at the local level as well as dozens of international locations. The full list of supported engines is available through the help section in the BrightEdge platform. And every release we typically add half a dozen or so new engines, and this is typically done by client requested.
Take a look, and just so everyone understands how to see that, if you go into the help section and you go into reference down here at the bottom, if you want to understand which search engines are in the platform today, you just click here on search engine list, and every single search engine that we support at BrightEdge, all the hundreds and hundreds of engines are here. And if you want to just look at smartphone, for example, you can click smartphone, and now you'll see all the smartphone engines that we support at BrightEdge. So there are lots and lots of them here, 4 pages of them, so I won't go through them all. So smartphone at the top level by country, smartphone by city, and so on. So again, this is under the help. I clicked on the help link up top at BrightEdge. I went to reference and search engines, and all of our customers have access to understand this.
Yeah, and there's a couple questions here that I think can be answered in one response. So first of all, if you're in your own instance of BrightEdge and you do not see that site audit tab at the top, it is likely because that was not part of your initial service package offering. To get that enabled, you just need to contact support at BrightEdge or your customer success manager that you've been working with, who can walk you through that process. And then the other question was, for those of you that do have site audit and are familiar with it, on the back end of the solution, there is the ability to actually control the types of errors that are being reported on within that solution. And the question is, are the default pieces that are turned on complete in terms of monitoring your mobile performance? Actually, the answer to that is most of it is there. However, I would take the time to click into each one of these error types. And as an example, if you click into page speed, by default, the last one is not enabled, and you would want to enable that. So yes, there is a little bit of work that you can do in terms of audit features.
Great. Well, thanks for that, Sean. So we're just coming up on the top of the hour. Again, I want to thank everybody for your participation in the webinar today. Again, if you can join us at Share 15, we would love to see you there. And again, our recommendation is to get ahead of this change, build out the visibility you need today, and really take the bull by the horns and be ready for the mobile search change. So thanks again. Thanks so much, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.